Hello, my name's Jemima Longcake and I'm mostly a creator, performer and activist. Sometimes I like to be other things. I've always been one for make-believe and dress up when I was younger, so I don't think that stopped. I'm from Kendal. I absolutely adore it here and I can't think of a better place to be quarantined right now, although I'm sure all of you would probably say the same about the wonderful places that you live. I have two poetry collections, Human Nature, which I'm having published, and the one that I will be sharing with you today, People Here Plant Flowers and Sing Their Name in Drought. I know, it's a very catchy title. I have been lucky enough to have shared work at festivals and also organised lots of wonderful festivals. That's something I'm really passionate about doing. I'm also co-chair of a local environmental activism group called Castle, or Kendal Activists Saving the Little Earth, also branching out to Cumbria Activists Saving the Little Earth. I am also founder of short film community arts project Mara, which I'm hoping to bring to fruition later this year. Fingers crossed. I'm writer of my talk Utilising Communication for Hope, which I'm really excited and hugely lucky to be able to share at some TEDx events later this year. I have also written my debut play, which I was hoping to share at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which I attended last year. I was hoping to take it again this year, but unfortunately things got in the way, but it's fine because we make the best of a very unfortunate and very difficult situation. And it's so wonderful to see that so many people have really been utilising what they do have even when things are being lost. But my debut play, Anomy, was going to be debuting this summer. Will be debuting at some point, but that is another piece that I wrote. I have shared work through the BBC, the National Poetry Competition, local slams, the Oxford Scientists and Young Writers, among other publications that I've been really lucky to be featured in. I'm looking to do some internships this year actually, and I've got some really exciting ones lined up because it's my gap year, which started a lot earlier than it was planned to because my A-levels were basically cancelled. But after that I hope to attend university and study to PhD level. I think that's basically everything you need to know about me before we get into why you're here, the real meat of the discussion. I say meat of this discussion, I'm actually vegan, so maybe more like soy protein of the discussion. But as you can tell, I'm very good at making it sound like I've done a whole bunch of different things. I do think I've had quite an exciting life so far, but when I say it like that, I'm like, gosh, did I really? But yeah, as you can tell, I love to talk. And after that rather me-focused introduction, I thought I'd explain a little bit about the collection that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, as I said before, it's got a hugely catchy title, People Here Plant Flowers and Sing Their Name in Drought. Now, my introduction was very me-focused, but this collection is hopefully the opposite. For me, I guess it's technically a quarantine collection because it's what I've written throughout quarantine, but it's definitely not about the current situation. Not in an obvious sense. I'm not writing about loss and disease and sadness. That wasn't what I wanted to bring out of it. I really wanted to create something that was hopefully a positive thing for people to look at. And so I think this piece is really about people, not the situation. I think it's really about people and the wonderful things that they do and have done throughout this whole thing. I've been trying to support the community around me and I've just been so overwhelmed in seeing what other people have been doing. Some people have been going above and beyond, and I think people are really So the first poem was a curious one. I wrote it, I think, at 10 at night or something on one of the first days of April, which was National Poetry Writing Month. And it's just about journey, really. It's called Reclaiming My Identity. Maybe it's the way they try to write my story. Smaller than the world that I write for me, nowhere quite as bright as the paths that I'm taking, the ones I'm creating from music and maths, creases and cracks, physicist or philosopher. They all hold a place for me. My journey is what they are, and what I will be along this road. So that's quite a short one. I seem to go between very long poems and very short ones. Usually I would be speaking without a reference. I like to learn my poems off by heart, but I've written these over the past month or so, and I haven't really performed them yet, as I'm sure you can imagine. So I haven't learnt them yet, but I've partially learnt them. Usually I would be trying to go completely off by heart, so yes, if I keep looking at my screen down here, then that's why. So as I was finding the next poem, I got a little reminder that at 2, so it's 1:30 right now, but at 2 I would have been taking one of my literature A-level exams, but it was aspects of tragedy, and in honour of that we are going to make this poetry session the complete opposite of a tragedy. I hope it is a success and a positive experience in honour of the tragedy that may have been. The next poem isn't, I mean, I suppose it is a poem, because I think a poem is what you say it is. But it's 2 lines. The title is just 9th of the 4th, 2020. She caught the sun, held each beam in her face. So the next poem is a love poem. Usually if I was performing to a live audience, then I would get them to make some noise for love. But unfortunately you can't do that, so I'm just going to trust that you're all there going, "Aww," on the other side of your screens, or wherever you're watching this from. But the next poem is called It's Midnight and I Should Stop Writing Poetry. I think all my titles got a little bit sarcastic and sassy. We speak every day, in a declaration spelled out so that anyone around would see. In a text or call explicitly, "I love you," face to face, or even just between our being. I wrote a lot about the issues that I was seeing throughout this whole experience. One of them was about the concerns I had for people who were living in vulnerable housing. Usually, I say usually, if we're in a normal situation, I would volunteer as often as I could at a local charity for those in vulnerable housing or who are sleeping rough. Unfortunately, they've had to go to a skeleton staff recently because of the whole situation, and I I found that very emotional because they're such a hub for the local community and such a support network for the people and the clients who do rely on them to an extent. So I wrote a piece based on, I always feel like I can't possibly write about homelessness or vulnerable housing because I've never had that experience, but I tried to take some of the discussions that I'd had with people who I've worked with there, and I tried to take some of their experiences and write them into a poem. I won't share it today because it's not actually in this collection, it's actually in my collection Human Nature, but I just wanted to touch on that because I think it is so vital. I feel incredibly lucky to be able to sit here and look at my laptop and talk to this camera and talk about the poetry that I've been writing when there are people who are so much worse off. I wouldn't say I'm bad off at all, but there are people who have really struggled and are struggling, and obviously that is something that needs to change, but I just wanted to touch on it so that this didn't just seem like a privileged person talking about their privileged experience of sourdough baking and poetry writing in quarantine. Her mind had often wandered about the concept of home and where it lay. Once it was a place, and then, when the idea transcended such restrictions, it became greater. Maybe it was in the love of the people who surrounded her, building up walls of support. Eventually, she came to see that home was a name for herself, something of her own making. So I just have a couple more poems to share. This one is one that I actually wrote about when I was probably like 13 or 14, and I was sat in this window waiting for my friend. We were going to the theatre. I'm not sure what made me think of it during quarantine, but I think it was probably the fact that I was missing so many people. This is Waiting in the Window. I've never been inclined to waiting, but for you I did. I waited in the bay window for my friend. I read a book to pass the time and grew almost to like waiting. Patience wavering but holding still, and my feet on the sill anxious to get moving. We were going to the theatre. I was excited, as were you. You were also late, but, well, it was a good job the show didn't start till much later. For a moment, we had all the time. Your mum's car drew up to my front gate. When I hopped in, you said, "I like your bay window." You looked cute sitting there. "I'd been reading," I said. Now, I miss waiting for you sometimes. These days I never really wait. But now and then I'll glimpse a little second. The next poem is called What They Make of Us. On the television screen, names flicker. Names never uttered above hushed tones anymore. We are immune to the suffering, so we don't scream. There's pain in even the sound of hope that we collect, and sometimes it's too real to face, so we whisper instead. News of disease, airstrikes, war and famine have left us panicked, and everything around us seems so quiet now. Except the birds. I wonder what they make of us. Our stories and words rolled into novels and worlds. Our hopes. Yes, they exist. Panic too. Our houses are dropped matchboxes on their skyline. Our way of living, a fire starter, and our way of life, we believe is harder than theirs. Flying over soil, enjoy bringing praise of life and journey. I wonder what they make of us. I wonder, what do they make of silence in death? Because every morning I'm blessed with their singing. Okay, so the last poem is one that I've absolutely loved writing and performing. It's for my wonderful friends. A poem to the friends I miss. This year we won't sit on the grass in our specially coordinated sixth form fits, not because we're too busy revising, but because other things got in between us and the sun. It's only temporary. And when this ends, there is so much good to be done. And I will start with you. Let me give you the hug we never got. We'll reminisce about things almost forgotten. We'll shape a new end to the story because I don't want to leave it unwritten like it is now. We'll swim again. In the lakes we're so lucky to call ours, and spend hours of the slowest days just talking, letting flowers grow inside us like the ones in the grass we sit on. And when the time comes, in the near future, and we return to where the light comes through the grey, we'll write a sequel. And unlike most, it will be just as good as its predecessor. A novel to come back to remember these days. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening, and to all the wonderful organisers who have been creating so much wonderful media to go up online at the moment. I'm very honoured to be able to share my poems with you today. Thank you.
Hello, we're Green Matthews, and we sound like this. Thank you very much, and a huge thank you to the Old Courts for inviting us to do this session for you. We're going to play for about 20 minutes or so. We mostly play folk and early music, and we just played you two dance tunes from the 17th century. The first was called Childgrove, and the second was called The Indian Queen.
We kind of specialise in playing some rather unusual instruments. So to introduce you to some of them, my instrument is the bagpipe. Now obviously the Scottish Highland pipes are a very famous and very popular type of bagpipe, but they aren't the only one. In England we had a bagpipe tradition that predates the Highland pipes by about 400 or 500 years. So these are the English border bagpipes, and they were popular in England up until about the 18th century. Chris is playing an instrument called a mandocello, which is kind of like, it's a big mandolin, really.
So we're going to sing you a song from the 18th century. As you might expect being from the 18th century, this song is about highwaymen. More specifically, actually, a highwayman who is not all that she seems. It is a song called Sauve, and it's about a young girl who decides to dress up as a highwayman and rob her fiancé at gunpoint in order to test whether or not he truly loves her. I suspect the marriage, if indeed it took place at all, probably did not last very long. The Tale of Sauve. Sauve, Sauve, all on a day, she dressed herself in man's array, with a sword and pistol all by her side, to meet her true love, awaited ride.
As she was riding over the plain, she spied her true love and bid him stand and deliver, noble sir, she said, for if you do not, I'll shoot you dead.
He's given up his golden store, but still she craved for one thing more.
That diamond ring that I do see well, oh, hand it over, your life I'll spare.
Never with this ring shall I part, for it's a token from my sweetheart. So shoot and be done, you rogue, said he, and you'll be hanged then for murdering me. Next morning in the garden green, young Sauve and her lover were seen. He spied his watch hanging all from her clothes, which made him blush, boys, like any rose.
Why do you blush, you silly thing? I thought to have your diamond ring. 'Twas I who robbed you all upon the plain. So here's your gold, love, your watch and chain. I only did it for to know if you would be a true love or no. If you'd have given me that ring, she said, I'd have pulled the trigger and shot you dead.
Sauve, Sauve, all on a day, she dressed herself in man's array, with a sword and pistol all by her side, to meet her true love, awaited ride. So we're going to sing something a little less intense and raucous for you now. This is a song called High Germany, and I learned this off my dad. And like the last song we've just done for you, it's sung as a dialogue, this time between a young man and his fiancée. And he's quite excited because he's going off to fight in this war in Germany. And she is less excited because he has suggested that she come with him, and she doesn't think that's a very good idea. Oh, Polly, my dear Polly, the rout has now begun. We must march away, love, to the beating of a drum. And so, my darling Polly, you must along with me, for we're off to fight for warm and love in high Germany.
Oh, Billy, love, oh, Billy, come listen to what I say. My feet, they are so tender, I cannot march away. And besides, my darling Billy, I am a child by thee, not fitted for the warm love in high Germany.
Well, a horse survived for you, my love, and on it you shall ride. So sweet and oh so tender, like a new-wed bride. And so, darling Polly, you must along with me, for we're off to fight warm and love in high Germany.
Oh, cursed be the cruel wars that ever they should rise. And out of merry England press many men likewise. They pressed my true love from me, likewise my brothers three, and sent them to the cruel wars in high Germany. Oh, Billy, my dear Billy, the rout has now begun. We must march away, love, to the beating of a drum. And so, my darling Polly, you must along with me, for we're off to fight the warm and love in high Germany. We're off to fight the warm and love in high Germany.
So thank you very much for listening. We're going to play one more for you. However, if you have enjoyed what you've heard from us, then you might like to know that pretty much everything we have played today is available on either CD or download from our website.
Now, ordinarily, we tour lots of different shows all over the country, and actually, during lockdown, we've even managed to film one of them at home. So you can now see A Brief History of Music, which is one of our shows in which we present 600 years of music in about 75 minutes. And there are lots of other weird and wonderful instruments in that. You can now rent or buy that online on our Vimeo channel.
And if you'd like to keep up with us and what we're doing, then please do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're going to finish off with two songs for the price of one. The first song is a song called The Miller of D, and it's about this miller who lives on the River Dee up in Chester, and it's kind of 4 verses about how happy he is being a miller up in Chester next to the River Dee. The second song is called Begone Dull Care, and that's 2 verses about how happy the person singing it is. So what we're going to finish off with is 6 verses of unalloyed joy, which for those of you who are familiar with traditional English folk song will know is quite a rare thing, really. Thanks very much for listening, stay safe, and we shall leave you with these.
There was a jolly miller once lived on the River Dee. He worked and sang from morn till night, no lark more blithe than he. And this the burden of his song forever used to be. I care for nobody, no, not I, and nobody cares for me. The reason why he was so blithe, he once did thus unfold. The bread I eat, my hands have earned, I covet no man's gold. I do not fear next quarter day, in debt to none I be. I care for nobody, no, not I, and nobody cares for me.
Begone dull care, I prithee begone from me. Begone dull care, you and I will never agree. Long time hast thou been sitting here, fate thou wouldst be killed. But fate, dull care, you never will get your will. Too much care will turn a young man grey. Too much care will turn all men to clay. We'll hunt the wild boar through the wood and merrily pass the day. At night over a flowing bowl, we'll drive dull care away.
A coin or two I've in my purse to help a needy friend. A little I can give the poor and still have some to spend. Though I may fail, yet I rejoice another's good fortune to see. I care for nobody, no, not I, and nobody cares for me. So let us his example take and be from malice free. Let every man his neighbour serve as served he'd like to be, and merrily push the bottle about and drink and sing with glee. Nobody cares a jot for us, then not a jot care we.
Begone dull care, I prithee begone from me. Begone dull care, you and I will never agree. Long time hast thou been sitting here, fate thou wouldst be killed. But fate, dull care, you never will get your will. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. See you soon.
To donate, visit www.theoldcourts.com/donate. All donations mean the world to us, no matter how small. Donations will be used to help us continue our work in arts and culture, and also to offer support to artists and community groups in this extremely difficult time.